What's up? What's up? All right, so how you want to start this? I guess first do introductions. Is this another? I guess is this an episode? Would you consider this episode?
We can call this what's
Mm,
the whole thing called? I don't know what you would call it. A side episode. I don't know.
Turn this heater off for this.
It's a filler episode. It's a filler episode.
No, it's not a filler episode because filler episodes are the ones people can skip. This
Oh
is
yeah,
more so like
this is breaking news. This is not breaking news. This is
yeah, it's just a quick conversation. Not really a full podcast, but essentially. Everything that's going on with Ibrahim Traore and like the whole world is talking about him. We want to make sure that we put our voice into the conversation because it's very important. The stuff that he's doing is essentially like what aligns with why we even made this podcast and this platform. So definitely got to add on 2 cents, and then also give people a little bit of education. A lot of people are talking about it, but don't really know what is going on and what he's doing. So that's what this
yeah.
is
Yep.
about.
So we still Afronomics, and we're actually Afronomicking even more right now with this conversation. So give us your thoughts. Please argue in the comments. Give us your thoughts. Show support for Ibrahim Traore. If you know how to properly pronounce his name in the language and dialect, also tell us that too, because we're struggling over here. I don't speak French.
I've been
Uh,
saying, is that I think it's Traore. I think
Traore.
Traore. Yeah.
Yeah, if you know how to pronounce his name properly, help us put some respect on that brother's name properly.
Yes. They call him IB, which Ibrahim is like a common name uh in different African countries, especially like in West Africa. I got a cousin named Ibrahim. There's a common name in Sierra Leone. I'm sure it's common name in like Liberia too.
Yeah.
Uh,
Indeed. I know a few Ibrahims.
yeah.
And not Abraham, Ibrahim with an I.
Oh, yeah.
Yep,
Ibrahim.
yep.
This is
All
very
right, so I'm not gonna pretend like I had been a an IB scholar or follower since before he blew up recently in media, but I do know you have mentioned him a few times in our conversations beforehand. So I do know that you at this point knew more and know more about it than me. So brother, please talk to me about tell me more about him, educate me, let me know. I know some stuff I have read, I have, followed along a little bit, but tell me some stuff I might be missing.
well, what do you know? Let's start there.
What do I know? Okay, let's say this. I know he makes me because he is 2 years older than me. He makes me feel like I ain't done nothing with my life at this point in time. But he also came to power through a coup. And it's funny because a lot of times we know in Africa, coups have been to the detriment of the country.
Mhm.
Um, this case, a coup happened so that a better leader could rise. So it's almost like somebody had to, which is why I'm going on a quick tangent, which is why like I don't always look at villains sometimes, specifically like Marvel villains and things like that. They're not always quote unquote villains. Sometimes they have to do they're good people that have to do villainous things to get a larger goal accomplished. He had to do that. I don't know the details of the coup because I didn't read all of that, but a coup is a coup nonetheless for a better leader to take charge and take power. And so for him to be able to do that, that's what's up. I know he took power as a coup. I know he has definitely don't want to oversimplify his work, but essentially he's done what a lot of people wish they would have done, wish Africa would have done a long time ago, kicking the colonizers out, reclaiming what is for us, and not being apologetic about it. Even going so far as to remove Burkina Faso and encourage Niger and I think Mali to get out of the ECOWAS states. For those of you who don't know what ECOWAS states are, I don't know what the acronym stands for, but it's the West African nations that kind of come together, similar to like the West African version of like the United Nations. He had them leave simply because he figured like they weren't about what they said that they were about, and they won't really do anything to advance the countries, but more so to just perpetuate, um, you know, tyranny and terrorism. The article that I read literally called the colonizers terrorists, and I love it. Finally, white people got called terrorists, and they need to be put in their place. So love that. I know a little bit more, but I feel like you can probably educate more on it too.
Yeah, I mean that's like
If anything I said in my spiel was wrong, correct me.
Yeah, I mean, I think you got it for the most part. I mean, we're gonna get into some of that other stuff, just in more detail. But yeah, the biggest thing about him is that he's anti-colonial and anti-imperialist as far as like the European powers or the West and everything that they do, and just overall very good leader and very young leader. He did come to power in a coup. It was actually two coups back to back. A lot of people don't know. He supported a coup in which the military took over, and then there was a leader in place, and he didn't like what that leader was doing after the coup. So then he organized another coup, and then took over like the same year. So he's been in power since November 2022,
I
and
love
at
it.
that time he was the world's youngest head of state. I think he was like 35, 34, 35 at the time. He's the world's youngest head of state. Now he's not. Now he's second since Iceland picked a new prime minister, and she is now the youngest head of state on the planet. Uh,
Youngest animal. That's what's up. Good
yeah,
for her.
So yeah, that's I mean that's the overview. Um, and yeah, he's done quite a lot as of that we're recording this May 2025. So within 2.5 years, he's got quite the track record. And of course, I did some research and everything. I knew a lot, but wanted to get a lot more of the details. So I'm gonna go start going through his accomplishments. And then we can just talk through it, man. So jump in anytime. First, just to speak on some of the anti-imperialist things that he's done, expelling French troops. Now, that's not just Burkina Faso, a few countries, the Sahel states, which of course that's Mali, Niger. And we always got to give credit. I think Ibrahim Traore is getting a lot of attention and is well deserved. But there's a lot of other African leaders that are stepping up, and the Sahel states are definitely leading the charge. So Abdurrahman Chiani, that is I think he also came into power in the coup. And he is from, make sure I get this right, he's Niger. So he's the leader in Niger. And then Assimi Goïta is Mali. So the three of them, Niger, Mali, and Burkina Faso, they're all part of the Sahel state. So they broke away from ECOWAS because ECOWAS was like a lot of West African countries together, almost like a European Union, kind of, just give you an example. But of course, they're different countries, but there was still European influence within ECOWAS. So the Sahel states was something different that they broke away. Because the Sahel, do you even know what the Sahel is? A lot of people don't even know what the Sahel is.
I don't.
So it's like a region that I want to say it is south of like the Sahara Desert, but it's like that region
Okay.
of where these countries are. So that's why they're the Sahel states. But they all border each other. And yeah, they're all on the same thing. Three countries ran by people that came to power in coups. And to your point earlier, a lot of times we look at they try to frame things as like the villain, like, oh, a coup is a bad thing, or people came up and like took power, and then they try to say that that's how you become authoritarian, or like you're a dictator because you came through and like militaries in power, and because they try to hold like democracy as like the end all be all, the best political structure, where really capitalism and democracy hasn't really worked for the majority of people's benefit, not for us, not no black.
Exactly.
So they try to make it seem like, oh, everything should be democratic in this way. And then even stuff like terms of, oh, you should serve 4 years and then let the next guy. If somebody's doing a damn good job for 30 years, let that man cook. Like we don't
Exactly.
go things with the mindset of how we think the government's supposed to run because it hasn't really run in our favor. Um,
Exactly.
yeah. But yeah, expelling French troops, all three of the Sahel states done that. I want,
So,
huh?
so with the expelling French troops part, I think people got to realize how major that is. Like,
Yeah.
let's look at like countries, for example, like Haiti, right? France has historically been a very vindictive country. France has been very evil to the countries that they've colonized, especially when those countries try to get freed. Haiti is so poor right now because France said, "All right, y'all want to kick us out? We're gonna tax you and basically make you pay for your freedom to us for years, tax you more money than you can possibly be able to pay," which is why part of why Haiti is so poor. And they did a whole lot of other aggressive things in the process too. So for a nation, for three nations that are, and I was listening to some of his speeches that like what he said, like what IB said earlier. Um, they are consistently in the rankings for being the poorest or one of the poorest nations and all of that. So for these countries that are considered to be poor and therefore have very little military like strength or power to be able to fight an army such as like the French army or whatever, that says a lot. That really literally says like we legit don't give a damn about like how you might feel or what you might do to us. We will protect ourselves and do what we have to do. That's not a small thing to kick French troops out of your country. And on top of that, whatever help they may have been providing, they're also saying like, nah, we don't need that. That's major. You said it twice. I didn't want to like gloss over that. Like that's not a small thing to do.
And that's actually one of the reasons for the Sahel states because they can kick French troops out. It's like they're smaller countries, but with them coming together, there's more strength in numbers, and then they
Yep.
border each other. So now it's not like oh, if it, like, and that's why I wanted to make sure we talk about the other leaders for a couple reasons, because we're gonna get into like all the coup attempts and everything later. But when there's one leader, it's easy to take out one person. You can target that one person and then like you can literally destroy a movement when there's only one figurehead a lot of times. But the fact that it's three of them together, one, they can serve to help each other, they can watch each other's back. So if I want to go in and invade Burkina Faso, I gotta then immediately have to deal with Niger and Mali, and they're both right there. So it's not
Yep.
just one of their militaries you got to worry about. They're now combining resources and everything. And then it's like if you do succeed in taking somebody out, there's two other leaders that already are echoing the same sentiment. So the movement keep going because now there's other people. So very important. But glad you pointed that out. That's how, along with expelling French troops, they banned French media in Burkina Faso. And that's so powerful because as we talk about a lot of the times on the podcast, like media is one way that they control us. Like
Yep.
they work overtime controlling every form of media from news, movies, music, TV, even social media. They got their hands in everything because if you control somebody's mind, you control their actions. And that's everything that they've done to brainwash us and just allow the system of oppression to keep perpetuating itself.
And even to that point, man, you're talking. I'm thinking like in order to move forward, you have to, in this case, in order to move forward, you have to also be willing to take a step back and like for a moment look like let things be a little bit chaotic and struggle or whatever. Because if you think about it, like those countries have so I'll put it in context for people that are they may be this is probably easier pill to swallow or to understand. South Africa right now is great economy, all this other stuff because of the help of the colonizers that came there and did what they had to do. Now, if one day South Africa is like, nah, all of y'all got to go, that's a lot of support that gets that goes away. That's a lot of foundation that gets removed so that we can have what is ours and then build on that to move forward. That's probably the easiest way I can probably think of like to make the comparison because Burkina Faso was already poor and stuff like that, but like even whatever little help that they were getting from the French to move them forward or to that they were standing on, they've been willing to forfeit that for a moment to be able to say, now we got to move forward.
Well, I mean, the countries are really only poor because of European influences. Because then, like, Africa, we invented civilization. Like, so, like, there's a lot of countries that would actually, they would have been better off if there was never any type of Western, like, they were already good. And then the West came in and essentially screwed up everything. Um, so, but to your point, now the way the everything's structured, then you would end up losing certain things. I mean, South Africa is different, like because South Africa, of course, is its own special
Yeah,
situation in Africa because it's incredibly ran by like white people.
yeah,
And I think like what 80%, something like a ridiculous number amount of the land is owned by white people who are still the minority. So like there's South Africa is its own special case. But to your point, when we have a lot of our institutions now, we're more so ingrained in there in like the Western world or ingrained in like white people's institutions. And if we were to try and break away and do our own thing, then we'll be starting over in certain places and having to build something from scratch. So it would be more of a challenge. I think a good example would be like if black people start their own NFL. At first it would be, all right, y'all don't have anything. Like y'all haven't figured out, y'all don't have years, decades of running this organization. So you got to figure out these new deals of where we're gonna play, what stadiums, what we have to refigure all the endorsements, the brands, the agents, the medical professionals. And it would be a challenge at first, but the NFL is like 50% black. So we provide a huge chunk of the talent pool. So that in itself will be a draw to whatever is created after that. So it'll be a struggle at first, but we have the biggest resource that drives everything. Um,
yep,
so yeah, no, to your point, it does, you got to go backward a little bit to be able to really see that growth. Uh,
yep.
yeah, next thing, rejected loans. And this goes right back to what you said. They rejected loans from the IMF, the International Monetary Fund, and the World Bank. So rejecting people's money. They control us with money. But go ahead. I know you got to speak on that.
Dog, I'm just reminded of our conversation with Steve Coakley, man. He said, I don't want the white man's money. I ain't got time for that. I want my stuff and only my stuff. Why? Because if it's funded by us, then I don't have to worry about nothing else. I don't have to worry about a sleight of hand. I don't have to worry about owing you nothing. It's funded by us to do what we're supposed to do. Um, and that is, bro, that's another stance of power. Like you can't control, like I don't even care about your money. They like bro, that's another level of power.
Yeah.
Um, and to say that to like IMF and it was the World Bank,
Yeah, World Bank. Yeah.
like that literally is another level of like we can and we will do this for ourselves. Because to your point, like Africa has the resources. Africa don't need to be poor ever. Africa literally doesn't need to be poor if it's done right and if we have the right leadership in place that knows how to handle the resources we have and actually wants to do well for the country. All right, I'm done because I'm gonna go off on a tangent. Continue.
Yeah, no, that's 100% correct. Like, every dollar has an agenda, and a lot of times they use money as a way to control us. Even at the micro level, think about all the celebrities that, you could be successful, you could be a great basketball player, but let you say something, they're gonna try and cut your contract. We've seen it happen. They tried to do it to Kyrie. He tweeted something. They didn't like it. They was like, nah, you're not playing or not getting the vaccine. Like they use money to control us. So if we rely on them for any type of progress, then we're dead in the water. The oppressors will never fund your liberation. So if we're relying on them to be able to move forward financially, like they're always
Oh,
going.
say that one more time. You can't say that and then just keep going to the next thing. You got to say it twice.
Oh yeah, the oppressors will never fund your liberation. Is the thing we talk about that all the time on the podcast. Yeah.
I'm gonna highlight it every time you say it. Doggone it. Continue.
All right, next thing, nationalized two gold mines. So these are probably controlled by private foreign institutions, and he nationalized them, took them under Burkina Faso's control. And that's the story, ongoing story of Africa. Um, our resources, and we don't control our resources. That's one of the biggest issues because Africa is resource rich. Africa is resource rich in so many ways. Like, and we'll talk about some of them, but the fact that don't control them is why we can't get ahead. It's like our resources are benefiting other people. I think there's other countries that like export diamonds, and they're like top diamond exporters, and they have no natural diamond mines. They literally just take everything out of Africa and get rich off of it while we got a lot of poor countries. Sierra Leone is like a top 10. It's one of a tiny country, like 7 million, 8 million people, size of like South Carolina.
My
And
man,
top 10,
the amount of rubber that comes out of Liberia, if it
bro.
was done properly, Liberia should still be rich.
Mm,
Rubber, gold, iron ore, like there's no reason why.
yeah. So no, that's a big win, and I'm saying there's a lot of African countries that are doing that. That's why, we're talking about Ibrahim Traore, but it's so much bigger than that. He's like, the big person, but we got to democratize the attention and not just keep with Ibrahim Traore because not to say he doesn't deserve it, but it makes him more of a target. But if we understand the whole movement, then everybody else feels empowered to join along, and everybody else is doing a lot. So we want to make sure we highlight that. But there's a lot of African countries that are now, renegotiating and trying to restructure. You're seeing it more like Senegal and Ghana, their new leadership is moving in that direction. Even Nigeria, I think Dangote got one of their oil refineries back up and running or something like that. So they're refining their own oil. They want a top producer of oil, but then they haven't been refining it for a long time. So now they're back to doing that. So yeah, taking control of those resources is huge, and the West is not liking that at all.
Now, my question for our leaders, and I know you're a thinking brother, so ask you question two, is how do we unify to make it across the board for at least West Africa?
Make what you talking about, like for more?
Like, yeah, more make what Ibrahim is doing more not I don't want to just say his name, I just can't remember the other president's
Yeah,
name.
no, it's fine. Yeah.
Niger and Mali, and to what they're doing to make that contagious across the board. What do you think it would take? That's a better question. What do you think it would take to make that more contagious across the board?
Oh, it's the people. It's always the people, and it's not the people in leadership. It's the people, the general population.
Say
So
more.
yeah, he took over in a coup, and imagine like somebody becomes a military leader. It was like a bloodless coup. People didn't fight. He had the support of the people. He's doing everything now because he has the support of the people. That every past leader has been able to do what they've done because they had the support of the people. And the difference now versus previous leaders is now the democratization of information. Because of social media and because Black people tend to be very influential on social media, as in every other industry, you're able to see things from the perspective of the everyday person, as opposed to a lot of times media is controlled by institutions. You had to be signed to a record label to be able to get your music out. You had to get like by a big Hollywood film if you wanted to get your acting skills seen by a whole bunch of other people. And then news came from BBC, CNN, etc. But now with social media, is democratized the spread of information. So now everyday people are showing you. So like, Ibrahim Traore is not this there was Thomas Sankara also in Burkina Faso that was moving in a similar step. He got assassinated, and we're gonna get into that. But a lot of people didn't know what he was doing because again, that you can't if you don't control the media, people don't know what's going on. But now, damn near the whole world knows about Ibrahim Traore because of social media, because they're not gonna put that out, they're not gonna show him in a positive light. They already done
Yeah,
tried to finesse it with the general talking about, oh, he's dangerous, he's holding this gold, and he's trying to, but because of social media, everybody knows that that's BS and they can call it immediately. So
yeah.
now West tries to attack him. It'll be clear immediately that the US is the bad guys. They've always tried to play that game, and, oh, we're spreading democracy, we're spreading freedom, and they use it as a way to go and attack people and protect their own financial interests. They're not spreading a damn thing except just tyranny and destruction, like they did when they assassinated Gaddafi. But
I,
yeah, it's the people. The people, that's how you get it. And that's what's also helping it because other countries in Africa are seeing this, it's like, your girlfriend, or say you got a girl and then y'all go on a double date. and she see how the other couple, how the man treating her, she gonna look at you like, I
It's like,
mean,
why you not doing that?
must
Yep.
be nice. So now a lot of people in Africa is the same thing. They seeing Ibrahim Traore and the Sahel states and what they're doing, and they're seeing how the people are benefiting. So now the people in the other countries can now put pressure on their leadership, like, see what he's doing, like do that. So like that's how we get it spread.
I mean, basically, what I hear you saying is the people got to hold the people accountable. The people got to hold the leaders accountable. And this gives them the spark. Because, like you said, we can't just keep all the focus on Ibrahim Traore because we don't one because he's one man, and two, if we don't want to keep him as a target, because if he's the end all, then they get rid of him, then they get rid of the movement. But if like you said, if the idea and the movement is in the hands of the people, the movement can never die. The movement, because the people will always be the people will always decide to hold somebody accountable. Like I was really, really, really proud of Liberia when I was reading about this, and I saw that Liberia was holding protests as well, and like there were like thousands of Liberians who were supporting him and there because unfortunately one of the issues in Liberia is you have there's a large population who just in a lot of ways they're uneducated with like what it takes to run a government, and they can be easily swayed to follow leaders who are just charismatic, who offer them nothing. And I'm glad that they have a leader who's close, because Burkina Faso is two doors down from Liberia. I think Guinea is the country that separates us. Like they have a leader who is very visible, who is somebody that they can compare our president to. I'm not saying this to either to support or not support the Liberian president. I'm just saying they have a leader who's doing stuff, who can compare their own leadership to, they can compare their own leadership to, and hold their leadership accountable, and say, nah, what are you doing here now? And I was just really so proud of Liberians for being able to step up and do that. That showed that gives me a lot of hope for our country.
Yeah, and that's the key word right there. You said it, brother. Hope. Like
Yeah.
you gotta think a lot of people in Africa were born in colonization. So
Yep.
like, like how they brought it up. So it's like a lot of leaders were born in colonization. Ibrahim Traore was not. Burkina Faso was free before he was born, or it was independent before he was born. So but a lot of people, we always talk about the mindset. If you have no idea how powerful your country is, or how rich your country is, or what good leadership looks like, you have no way of being able to enforce it, because everything exists twice, once in the mind, once in reality. So if you've never seen something and you can't even picture it, it's very hard to try and hold your leader accountable to a standard that you don't really understand. Um, but yeah. All right. So where am I? All right. So next thing, remove French as an official language and promoted local languages. That's huge. That's huge because
Yep.
language controls everything. Literally, you can learn
Yep.
language. You can learn a lot about the culture. Ade brought that up in his episode and why he was big on teaching people, spreading Swahili, because language influences things.
And not only like can you learn about the culture, you can protect the culture that way as well. You protect the culture that way, because if you get rid of French as the language, and you institute a native language from whatever tribe, whatever, and you institute that as the language, boom! Now you have a way to keep Burkina Faso, Burkina Faso. You have a way to keep Niger, Niger. You have a way to keep Mali, Mali. You have a way to keep whomever, whatever. And you can ensure that outsiders cannot come in and destroy what it is that you're doing, because the ability to communicate, especially with, unfortunately, I hate the fact that Africa always has to be on defense, but that's what happens when you are valuable. Um,
Right?
uh,
Target.
uh, yeah, exactly. You become a target, because it means that if I'm in a room or in a space where I have to make sure that my people are good, I can flip to my language whenever I need to, and we can decide, nah, we're not rocking with this Chinese man. Nah, we're not rocking with this white man. Nah, we not doing this, because we see what the game is and we're gonna be out. Just little stuff like that. Changing of the language is very, very important.
And they gonna finesse and learn your language too. That's my, because
We have to,
your mom do that? Like she'll talk we in Creole they call it Congo Sa, like when you gossiping. Whenever they wanna talk about somebody in front of them, my mom start speaking crew to like they'll start speaking crew to each other.
yeah,
Because
my mom didn't speak a language, but they would switch to Liberian English. And
like
I actually realized for me, I because obviously I grew up in it, but I didn't realize to somebody who doesn't know
yeah,
Liberian
yeah.
English, it actually does sound like they can't really, if especially if you're talking it fast and raw, they can't really understand it, even though it's English. It's very hard for them to like really grasp what's happening. And I didn't realize it because to me, I just hear
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah, same with Creole. I didn't realize how I used to think like, oh, this is pretty obvious. Some words are, but a lot of it is like if you're speaking it fast enough with the accent, people
Yeah.
whose ears aren't trained will not catch it. But yeah, no, language is important. We got our kids going to school. First of all, you got it's a learning curve in school because that's not the language that they speak at home. So it's like you got to go through school in a language that's different from what you naturally speak, which is just like another barrier to education. And then, like in creating course material and curriculum, if you got to produce everything in French, then that in itself is what are your teachers creating, and then that allows them to influence curriculum even more. So if you have more local stuff, then naturally it's going to be produced locally, which means you have more control over your education.
So what you just said sparked maybe my brain was being ADD for a second, but it sparked a question in my brain about how if we are if because I'm sure that I guess ultimately the plan is to eliminate any sort of European aid, help, whatever, like to the country, and which 100% I agree with. But with that, there what about that just means that African nations, specifically West African nations, but I guess all African nations would have to be more willing and able to do business with one another because we would essentially we're burning those. He's burned those bridges with France now. So it's like you burn bridges with these other countries, fine, but now in the event that there is something that they have of like you see what I'm saying? Like you have to now be able to make up for whatever you might have gotten from those countries and from your own people who you can work with. And I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that we need anything from them, but what I am saying is that just calls for a greater strength of unity within African nations for us to be able to do business together. Because it's like, all right, if I'm burning bridges with these white people, I need to make sure that I can now depend on my own people for us to be able to do business and come together.
They're already they're moving in that direction with the AFC CFTA which I think we talked about that in Sarah's episode. But that's essentially is a continental free trade agreement across Africa that's supposed to allow for easier trade between countries. So they're working on things, and then like I think there's even some infrastructure. I want to say that they're working on either railroads or a express highway system that'll go from country to country. Um, I mean, one of the reasons they took out Gaddafi is because he was talking about like a Pan-African currency, so one
Yep.
continent. So they're working on just doing a lot of things to be able to work with each other within the continent. So.
Yep. I just wanted to bring that up just in case somebody,
Yeah. No, this
have.
is the whole purpose of the conversation. Um, this one's more symbolic, but very important. Ban of British wigs and gowns from like their parliament and stuff, or the lawyers or whatever.
I had to hold myself because we're a family friendly program.
We get away from that slowly but sure. Yeah. But yeah, them wigs, boy. That's a lot of it's symbolic, but it just perpetuates that reverence for Europe, and that's the biggest issue. Because if you look up, you put Europeans on a pedestal, then you essentially put them at a higher value, and in return, I value myself less, which means I'm willing to take from the Europeans whatever I can get from them because I assume I just hold them in such high regard. And
Exactly.
that's one of the biggest issues. We value too much what they have, what they bring to the table versus
Plus,
what we bring.
plus, if you go back to history, you realize the only reason why they wore those nasty wigs to begin with is because white people get lice in their head, and they didn't have proper hygiene back then. As they didn't have proper hygiene back then, and I'll censor myself. And so
Yeah, no,
because
we're dirty. Europeans are dirty. That's
yeah, because they didn't. Yeah, it's a fact. That's a fact.
more.
There's been no nasty plague that took out half of Africa because of hygiene. There have been several in Europe. And so they only wore those nasty wigs because their hair was eaten up with lice and all kinds of crap. Lice is something Africans can't get. Lice can't move in our hair. So there's literally no functional reason for them to be wearing it except for it being a symbol of oppression and imperialism. That's my soapbox.
I appreciate the history lesson, my brother, because I feel like maybe I heard that before, but just definitely didn't remember it. But very, very, very good point. Okay. And then this last one, form the alliance to sell states. So we already talked about that. Um, yeah, we got into that, but definitely watch out for what they're doing. But yeah, these are just the anti-imperial. There's more accomplishments. I'm a list of so I'm gonna do the economic and social reform ones. I'm gonna try and read them two at a time so we can get through them.
I'm not going to interrupt. I'm gonna let you get through so the people can
Oh
hear the
no,
stuff.
look, I want you to
This is about the
interrupt. I want
conversation I
you
want to hear too.
we need the back and forth. Um, oh, so this one is a quick mention. The Burkina Faso GDP has grown 17.5% in two
In
years.
how many years? In 2 years? In 2 years. Say
17.
say the stat one more time because people need to
Burkina
know how rich
Faso,
Africa is.
yeah. Burkina Faso's GDP has grown 17.5% in 2 years since he took over. So
Now
it's growth.
that should let you, that this is a man who took over in a coup, who's young, who took over a very poor nation. I want to keep harping on the fact that Burkina Faso was poor, and I'm going to say was because they're not going to be for much longer in the future. Um, in 2 years has grown 17%. You like to say when it comes to how we do our growth for our podcast, exponential growth. That's just 2 years. 17% in 2 years was the we just starting out, we don't know what we're doing version of the growth. Imagine what happens now that he has support and wisdom and everything else, and he's really tapping into the resources. That's a key example of how that's just a seed of how fast Africa can grow and how rich our freaking continent is. All right, I'm done. I'm done.
Oh,
Continue.
that's no, you're spot on. You're spot on. That's some rapid growth right there. And I'm gonna drop this video at some point. This why invest in Africa. There's a lot of great reasons to invest in Africa, or not even just from like a economic standpoint, or just for us, it's very much like it's personal. We want to see Africa develop, but even from like an economic standpoint, Africa is the market, and it has I think 12 of the top 20 fastest growing GDPs on the planet. There's 20 the 20 fastest growing GDPs by country on the planet. Africa has 12 of those 20 spots. Like it's insane. It's insane. But yeah, Burkina Faso is a lot of growth. And then this to speak to who he is as a person, as a leader, and why we should endear him. He's for the people. With this stat right here, he reduced the salaries of the ministers in parliament and increased civil servant salaries. So the people that sit at the top, in the US where we have our Congress, they're making all our Congress is rich. Our president, everybody's rich, and then they work for the corporations to make the people at the top richer. He's doing the opposite. He's enriching people from the bottom. He decreased the salaries of people at the top and he kept his captain salary. So he didn't go and he became president, took over and said, "All right, give me the presidential salary, which is bigger." He kept his captain salary from like when he was still operating in the military. So,
And for people who don't know African history and why that stat is so important and why that move is so important, because a lot of our leaders historically, I wouldn't say historically, in the last 40, 50 years have used leadership as a means to get rich.
Very
Um,
much so.
Specifically, West African nations. I don't know about other people. I can say West African nations have used leadership as a means to get rich. They take money from aid and everything else, and they siphon it and use it for their own doing. So him publicly saying, "Nah, just so y'all know, I'm not here for the money or the crown or the glory. I'm here for the people. This is how I'm doing this." That is a major move. And I think that's part of the reason why so many African nations and people, I'm going to stop saying nation, I'm going to actually make it people, because to your point, we need to like make that human. So many African people, West African people are following this man because it's like, nah, you are really different than what we've had before. That is a major thing.
Or yeah, he's different from a lot because there's a lot of bad leaders, but yeah, no, he's definitely unique and bringing something that spark, that youth, that revolutionary mindset to the table and for the people, man. And that's the thing. A lot of times people, which is why the coup is so important, because a lot of times the leaders that care for the people do not make it into leadership because there's so much meddling from the West. There's this strong colonial mindset. So the people who would do better usually don't make it into power, and if they are, they've been taken out time and time again. And we're gonna get into that. But just
And
another,
also, you just said something that this is kind of an aside, but not really. Don't look up Ibrahim Traore and read his Wikipedia page. Don't look up anything that you read. Don't look him up and read what you see on Fox News. Don't look him up and read what you see on BBC. Don't look him up and read what you see in CNN. I'm talking to the viewers.
yeah,
Look him up and watch his stuff. Watch his, it's 2025. Everything's recorded. Watch his speeches.
that's a
Read
great
what
way.
Burkina Faso newspapers are saying about him. Read what the people are saying about him. And don't read any media. Don't read or watch any media from any European or white publication or African publication that is from a country that is, that is probably very heavily supported by or backing, or backed by European money and dollars and whatever else, because that's another way they get us. They try to put our own people against us to make us think that people aren't doing right.
Yeah,
Go to the source.
that's a good point. In general, like be very careful about what you get your media. That's just like even beyond Ibrahim Traore, like that's one way they've always controlled us is control our minds by what we see in the media. They pick the superheroes and they pick the villains. And a lot of times they make our heroes the villains and make our villains the heroes in our eyes. And perception is reality. So you got to be careful with that.
This is the perfect opportunity we got right now for the lion to tell his own story,
Yeah. Yeah.
and so he can eat the hunter fairly.
All right. Okay, next one. Stop the export of unrefined Burkina Faso gold to Europe and open a gold mine in 2023. So that's additional to nationalizing two gold mines. They actually opened another one. Or what they called it in, what was the word? Commission a gold mine? Whatever. They had a new gold mine.
Remind me of our conversation with Sarah, where he was talking about completely processing the leather from front to
Yeah.
back,
Right,
and
right, right. Yeah. So again, like us refining our own materials and because they have us all the time sell them raw materials cheap. They refine it and then we gotta buy it back or everybody else buys it back at a huge markup.
my I don't know why you seen Snowfall?
Nah, I never seen it.
My brain immediately went to Snowfall. It's about a homie. It's at the beginning of the crack epidemic or whatever, and he was like, and they were teaching him how to do crack, and he was like, he got rich because he did all his own processing. That's it. It's a great show. Had a great and terrible ending at the same time. Highly suggest people watch
Okay. Uh
it.
I'll check it out. All right. Some of the support farmers provided hundreds of tractors, tillers, motor pumps, and motorcycles to improve agricultural production. And to go with that, as I was mentioning earlier, Africa is rich in resources and we don't take advantage. Um, Abdul actually brought this up in his interview, and I didn't really think about it in the moment, but he brought up this fact, and I remembered it. Africa, and I found in my research, Africa has 60% of the world's arable land. And that means we can grow crops there. 60% of the world's arable land. So 60% of the land where you can grow crops. Yet Africa is a huge importer of food. So we have the land, sorry, we have the land to grow enough crops to feed the entire continent. Yes, we're importing food. Like that is insane. Like so the fact that he's working on agricultural production is huge because it's going to be able to allow them to grow more food for their growing population. Africa's population is exploding. One in four.
And
Oh, go ahead.
go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say 1 in 4 people on the planet by 2050 will live in Africa. Most people don't know that. Even
Me.
yeah, we're losing people to migration. America's population is only growing because of migration. The actual like fertility, we're not birthing babies like that. We're growing because of migration, which is weird what Trump is doing, like deport everybody. Like our population is going to shrink without the migration coming in. But
Yep.
Africa's just birth wise is putting babies out. Like it's insane.
I also want to make it clear, like the reason why the we have so many the need for so much import of food is, again, it has nothing to do with the land or anything like that. It's a lack of resources to be able to actually deal with the land, and unfortunately education of people knowing how to farm. That's what happens when you take millions of people from their land over time, and you take all that we talk about all the time, brain drain. You take all that knowledge away. Farmers are very important. You take all that knowledge away of what it is to manage a farm and harvest crops and all of that, and that's what happens. So even if you have the fertile land, if you don't have the people to work it or the tools to do so, then you're screwed. So it's not a thing of like the land is not, or even like the seeds are not available. Because I'm even sure that you've been to Africa, like the stuff just grows on its own in a lot of ways. But in order for it to grow in a way to feed the population, you need the resources and the people who know what they're doing. So just wanted to make that clear for the people too.
Yeah, they can't produce at scale. So like having this proper tooling and everything just helps them produce. Because you
Yeah.
know, agriculturally, you don't need a whole bunch of people that know how to farm. You just need a few people that can produce for everybody. Um,
Yep.
without the proper tooling, you just can't get up to that scale. So,
Yep. The way
yeah,
my uncle put it when he first moved to the US, he was like, "Yeah, because I was still learning. I was a kid, still learning about Africa and everything else." He was like, "African land is so fertile and grow something."
hey, hold on, I lost you. Your sound went out for a second. What did you say?
Yeah, my uncle, when he first got to the US, I was a kid, and he was telling me about how fertile the land is in Africa. He was, the land is so fertile in Africa, you can spit on the ground and grow something. That's how
Right.
fertile it is. Like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, no, he definitely got that. Oh, and to go along with that, he's repurposed prisons to into centers for agricultural training. So now, um, instead of like in the U.S., we have privatized prisons, so you have corporations that use prison labor, slavery, to produce products, and they turn a huge profit. So now they're incentivized to have people be in jail so that they have enough slave labor to be able to do production. He's doing it a different way where they just retraining and rehabilitating their prisoners, but it's government ran so that the people can benefit because now they're working on crops and agriculture to allow people to have more food. So different spin on prison labor, but helping with that agricultural output. All right. Then as far as construction and development, here's some more accomplishments. So he's near completion, like 98%, I think, as of April, of a 500 bed hospital that they're building, and they also launched construction of 55 modern hospitals across the country. 55 hospitals, modern hospitals that he's building across the country.
Man, I love that, and there's a celebration in me to hear stuff like that, but then also I get terrified. I get terrified because I really want to make sure that these places are protected, because he's doing stuff to piss off the West, and he's building things, and it is historically it has been more developed, European and white nations that get mad and do stuff to destroy, and will use our own people to do so. And so like I hear it and I'm like, this is dope. Please protect these people.
But at the same time, we have such a negative idea around that because we only hear about the losses. There's been plenty of times where even after, so of course we invented civilization existed for a very long time before any other race of people existed. Created civilization, thriving societies, et cetera, et cetera. But even after the tables turned, there's been plenty of times where we fought back, we won, but we don't learn about those. So like we think that they're gonna come do it and then we're gonna have to take this L again. It's like it's we don't always take L's. They just don't teach us about the wins. They don't teach us about the wins. So we think that we don't have a chance that they're gonna be able to do XYZ because that's they're just gonna come in, they got the power, etc. We can very much win and this just becomes a success story. And do it over and over again. Like it doesn't the amount of progress and the amount and not just him, there's multiple leaders popping up. So I think we just got to make sure we maintain it. So
And to your point, I mean, yes, still terrified though. You're right with everything you said. Still terrified, but also I think you said this earlier about media being a thing too. The media is in the hands of the people. So like, whereas before they could be a little bit more incognito with their spying and whatever, now they'd have to try really, really hard to be able to do that and not have fingers immediately pointed at them for it because the world is watching these countries now.
yeah, and
Literally,
people,
the world is watching.
yeah, and everybody knows now. So now you've invigorated spirit within African people, or it's happening. Thousands of people, millions of people probably around the world marching on April 30th and protesting. If God forbid something was to happen to them, you think those people are gonna be like, all right, well, damn, I thought we had it and go back. Like, no, the fact that they know, that's just gonna make a lot of people. Some people will quit. Some people be like, damn, that was the only hope. Go back home, sit on the couch. But you have a lot of people that become even more invigorated to protest and keep fighting and like, all right, now I'm definitely finna make sure that we get our stuff together and I educate my children and this, that, and the third. So it's like, with people thinking the way they do now, like I think that is shifting to where you don't have that concentration of hope in one person. You democratize the hope too.
Yeah.
So uh other thing he did is they're building an airport that can handle 1 million passengers annually. And they also launched ITAOUA, which is Burkina Faso's first domestic electric vehicle manufacturer. So they're manufacturing electric cars in Burkina Faso. How many African cars have you seen manufactured?
That, and let it be known, he's doing all of this without IMF. He's doing all this without World Bank. I haven't done the research to find out where
I
the
don't know
money.
if he doesn't take. I just know he's rejected some, so I don't
Yeah.
know what money he's even.
So yeah, so I haven't done the research to figure out where the money is coming from, but I also kind of really don't care because it's going into to the people. So I know at the very least I can probably safely. I don't know the guy. I don't know what he's doing. I can probably safely assume that at the very least his funds are not coming from exploiting or hurting other people, because everything he's doing is for the people.
Yeah, we can,
Um,
we can take that money all day as long as we use it on what we want to use it on. Like
exactly.
we can,
Exactly.
as long as we're not dependent on it, and we can use it on what we want.
Exactly.
Take that.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that's just the list of his accomplishments that I can do with my research. Of course, there's other things that he's doing and Sahel states are doing, but that's just what I got. But now we can talk more about like why is it so important that we as a diaspora support him and make sure that he's protected? Because we can talk about the coup attempts as well, because I got a list of those to go through.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's start there. Let's start with the cool temps. Yeah, let's start there.
So. Yeah, there's been several coup attempts on him since he came into power. Some sources say 19. I've seen other sources say as high as 29. Not sure exactly. Both. I don't know. Somebody tried to take your life like once. I think that's insane. But 19 is wild in 2 years. Like it's crazy. And he's usually stopped by his team. I think recently there was something that came out. One of his bodyguards got offered $5 million, like life-changing amount of money for you and your family. But he didn't take it. He didn't take it and that's one thing that we gotta understand. We value money so much. And I mean, I ain't gonna knock somebody for trying to get money, but how you get money matters. It's like, and one of the quotes that the bodyguard said, at least from what I saw on social media, I didn't fact check that particular thing. But he's like, they offered him 5 million and to be able to go to wherever country was telling him to make the hit. And he can live there, his family can live there. He was like, those people don't respect me. He's like, I have money, but I don't have respect. I don't have honor. And I would rather live like a lion in my own country than to be a dog in your country. So it's about the honor. We gotta have honor. That's the one thing that we've always had that they try to take from us, and they've used money as a means to do it.
Man, that's
Bars, right? Yeah, yeah. Penn gang crazy on that security guard. Yeah.
and like, do you know what kind of man you have to be to have people on your team that are that loyal and committed to you and the idea and the vision? That means you are legit living, you are exactly who the people say that you are or who you portray yourself to be. When you have somebody who is in a poor country, probably been poor all his life, he probably never seen $500,000, let alone 5 million. And for somebody to offer it to you and
Yeah,
and he
I live in
says,
the US and I ain't never seen it.
as so for somebody to offer that to you and you turn it down, that says a lot about the man, obviously, but then also definitely about the leader. Like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah, and a lot of the coup attempts were supported directly or indirectly by the French or other Western countries.
Nah.
Yeah, U.S. Now the U.S. throwing their hat in the ring. They got that coon general up there tap dancing, talking about I want to get closer. Yeah, Ibrahim Traore is a threat. That coon man. We gonna have to. God damn, we gotta do something about these coons. And I can't be more negative towards the coons than the people that they're working with. They're all trash.
They're
But
all trash.
yeah, they're
Absolutely.
all trash. They're all trash. But
Absolutely.
yeah, no, terrible job.
Because whomever takes if somebody is to be successful in taking any of these leaders down, unfortunately, the person will look like us.
Yeah, yeah.
It, and it'll be a
Nine
coon.
out of 10.
It'll be somebody who loves money. It'll be somebody who can't see past today. It'll be somebody who deserves to be dragged through the streets in the worst possible way.
Yeah. And what was I gonna say? And there's a precedence for this because I got this list of other Pan-Africans who were assassinated or exiled. And this is why we have to be very mindful and protect him. We need to, as a diaspora, protect him. Also, we need to democratize the attention and the credit and the hope. We can't just look at Ibrahim Traore like, he's Jesus. There's other leaders there doing good things. Support them. Hold your own leaders accountable. Let's replicate this. Let's have more than one so they can't just go after him and think that that's going to end the mission. But even if they do, my brother told me this quote, bury the man, continue the plan. So
Yep.
God forbid something happens to him. Let's make sure we do our best efforts to protect him, make sure that we understand and walk with honor, but there is a precedent of other leaders who have been doing what he's doing, and they've been knocked off or discredited in some way. And I'm gonna go through them, try and do it real quick. Patrice Lumumba, the Democratic Republic of Congo. He opposed colonialism. He was assassinated, and his body was dissolved in acid. This was 1961. The Belgians were behind it. Kwame Nkrumah. From Ghana. He's a Pan-African leader. He's the first president of Ghana. He was exiled in a CIA, that's USA, back coup, 1966. Of course, the USA behind that. Fun fact, Kwame Nkrumah went to school, he went to HBCU for college, and he pledged Sigma. So it was very much tied to the diaspora. Yeah, Kwame Nkrumah was a Sigma. He was very much tied to the diaspora. It was very much about bridging the gap in Pan-Africanism. All right. Amilcar Cabral, Guinea-Bissau. He was an anti-colonial leader. He was assassinated in 1973. The Portuguese were behind it. Steve Biko, he's South African. He was an anti-apartheid activist, died from torture and police custody, 1977. The South Africans, of course, did that, but that's the Afrikaners, the Dutch people that were behind that. Thomas Sankara, Burkina Faso, of course, probably a huge role model and influence to Ibrahim Traore. He was a revolutionary socialist leader. He was assassinated in 1987. The French were behind it. Muammar Gaddafi, Libya, Pan-African leader who opposed imperialism, was very much about like uniting Africa, wanted a currency of, I think, a central currency across Africa, and I think he wanted to get on the gold standard. Did a lot for his people. Gas was incredibly cheap. Every new family, when newlywed couples got money to help start their lives. I think women who gave birth, they got awarded money. Like it was a lot of things that he was doing to be able to help the people. And Libya has been in shambles since he was assassinated in an uprising in 2011, backed by NATO during the Obama administration. And that's why we talk about it all the time. And what Fidelis was talking about, white supremacy can function with a black face. Everybody was very excited about Obama being in power. He killed a Pan-African leader. Imagine we had a black president right now that went after Ibrahim Traore. And we celebrated a black president getting into office, and then he goes and killed Ibrahim Traore. That's what Gaddafi would like. Gaddafi would, he has his flaws like every man does, but imagine a black president in the US celebrated by black people in America goes and kills Ibrahim Traore. That's one thing I cannot stress enough when people talk about Obama. Personally, I don't hate the guy. But keep that in mind. Keep that.
We it's not even hate. It's call a spade and hold people accountable for what it is,
Yeah.
and what they either did or allowed to happen on their watch. Because if you have power, evil ain't afraid to use their power to make grandiose actions. That man Trump got in office and started wielding his pen like it was a mighty sword and signing mad executive orders all over the place. Did it the first time and he did it this time too. Evil ain't afraid to sit there and make big rash decisions and whatever. We can't we if you're going to be good, I think I'm going to mess up Dr. King's quote, but he said the only way for good to triumph over evil is for good men to do nothing or something like that. Maybe it was not Dr. King, but I don't know. Somebody said that. And there's too many good men or good people out here willing to not say something or not do something for the sake of quote unquote keeping the peace. Like you were talking about Kyrie earlier, and I heard somebody else who was in a position of leadership, and he was like, he wanted to say something that was controversial, and his team was like, you can't say that. So he backed away from what he was going to originally say. And I'm like, nah, my brother, if something you want to say or do is going to be that controversial, that's definitely the thing you should say or do because it's what needs to be said or done. Uh, yeah. So that Obama definitely should be held accountable. And that's my spiel about, he cool, black, whatever, but hold him accountable for what he did or didn't
I
do because
mean,
he failed.
that's the thing. I mean, he failed. He succeeded in doing what the hell he wanted to do. But that's the thing. Like that's why we can't trust politics. They all don't give a damn about us. They're all going to be anti-black, even if it's a black person in there. We can't think that we live in a society where we can put somebody in power that looks like us and think that the function the system is going to function differently in favor of us. They're always going to do that.
Because the
They're
fact is
going to
they played the game to get to that position to begin with. So what makes you think they're not playing the game to keep it?
Yeah, it's like I mean I understand like being strategic like that's what I mean you can use politics in a way, but if you ever don't ever get the idea that the American political system is going to be our path to salvation or our path to liberation or our path to being to equality. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. It's never going to happen. Get that out of your mind right now. And I'm not saying don't vote. I'm not saying don't get into politics, but understand that that is not the solution. You know, it's a tactic, but the solution is going to come from us, the people being able to work together, being able to unite, and then devaluing the European economic system. We can't
Yeah.
understand that system and try to come up within the system, focus on the system, like, you know, get your money, do what you gotta do, protect your family, etc. But understand you gotta do it from the perspective of like there's a whole other way that we gotta come up. So if you're doing something in your career and you're like, all right, I'm trying to climb the ladder, understand that that's only one aspect of it. Like the bigger thing is for us to being able to unite and be independent and self-sufficient. That's the ultimate goal. If you're not doing something that's going to help us do that, then you're not really putting us in a position to be free. The black people, the darker skinned people, no matter where you go on the planet, we're always at the bottom economically. We're at the bottom in other outcomes, social, like healthcare. Like we're at the bottom everywhere. So it's like if we're just because a few of us can come up doesn't mean that that's the goal. That doesn't mean that we won because you got black millionaires and billionaires. We're still at the bottom, generally speaking. So we got to be able to make sure that we navigate and get us from off of the bottom.
I
And
think you said we got to protect the man, definitely, but also protect it. To your point, you said this, but like I'm gonna say it a little bit more directly, protect the idea, protect the idea.
mm,
Because you didn't finish the list, but there's Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, and Martin Luther King, Fred Hampton, Jovenel Moise.
yeah, so yeah, I was about to say. So these are other people prosecutions and people you know that were supported by the US and being taken out that were Pan-African leaders. Yeah, Marcus Garvey was deported in 1927, Malcolm X assassinated in 1965, MLK assassinated 1968, Fred Hampton assassinated by Chicago Police Department in 1969, and then Jovenel Moise was the president of Haiti. He was assassinated in 2021. He is Pan-African and is suspected that the US was involved in his assassination.
And even with the assassination of the president of Liberia, Tubman, there's thought that the U.S. has something to do with that as well, through plants or whatever. So, uh, but the thing is with all of these leaders, in a way, unfortunately, I was definitely say because I've actually like put effort into studying this. Unfortunately, with them getting rid of MLK and Malcolm and Fred Hampton, they unfortunately did succeed in pausing the movement. They didn't stop anything, but they paused it. They took it back. They definitely hindered the movement by killing them because we let the idea not die, but we got discouraged. Hope was lost during that time period from the idea, from them being gone. And I think what is most paramount now is and I don't know these leaders, but something tells me they are also they based on how they seem to be strategic and what they're doing. I wouldn't be surprised if they themselves already have some sort of a succession plan. Like you can get rid of one of us, but the Hydra head, the head of Hydra, some another one is going to grow. But even still, I want folks to know like don't allow this the idea of what they have done to grow. If there's other people out there, other leaders, other thought folks, other whatever, like if you have any sort of idea for how to tap into the energy that's going on, tap into it and keep it going. Because one of the biggest things that one of the worst things that could happen to us is if they do succeed in taking out our leaders, if we allow what they started to do to die, then everything that they did would be worth nothing, and even their life, even them losing their lives, would have been a waste. So if it keeps going, then it was worth it. We have to make sure that the idea of what they've started continues to go. I can't stress that enough, regardless of what happens to them. Because, like you said, that's one man, that's two men, that's three men, three countries who've come together to do something. Uh, and everything can't rest on them.
Yeah. Yeah. Bury the man, continue to plan. Um, yeah, with that, like to your point, you can't just have it concentrated. Everybody has to be involved. And that's, when you kill people like that, it prevents other people from trying to move forward because nobody wants to be the voice. They don't want to be a target. And one of the big things that really killed the civil rights movement is us. We killed the civil rights movement because they got strategic in how they did it because the Black Power and revolution just was replaced with Black excellence. It became you couldn't be popular and be hosing down Black people in the streets. You couldn't
Don't
be street
don't
mob.
don't say that, bro. Don't say that. You're gonna piss off the black people. But
I mean,
black excellence is our win.
it's our
We win it.
birthright. But abundance is our birthright. But not, I mean, nobody says you can't make money. I think let's kill that right now. I have every
And also, I think you are before you. I want you to continue, but before you continue, I want to embolden you some more because you're not talking as a dude who is not black excellence. Like you are black excellence, critiquing black excellence. You went to bougie school, you make good money, you're a member of the Divine Nine, one of the most black excellency things a black person can do in the United States. You're educated, all the other stuff. You're black excellence critiquing your own people. So that's it.
Yeah,
Continue.
definitely don't want to. Yeah, I ain't stopping nobody from making money, but it's the mindset that you do it with, like how you make money matters. How you make money matters. For one, don't and like you can make money in a lot of ways. But the reason I said like the black excellence replaced black power is because one, you weren't sicking dogs on black people protests. You weren't beating them up. I mean, they'd still be killing niggas. I'm not gonna hold you, but it's not as blatant as it was before. So they made racism a lot more covert to give people the kind of guise and a little bit of comfort. Comfort killed everything because now it's like if you're comfortable, now you have a stake in the system because if I'm comfortable within the system, I'm less incentivized for the system to be flipped over or to revolutionize or dismantle the system because now I'm making money in it. So now you got a lot of black people and particularly it's our most successful. Like I think Booker T. Washington had the concept of it was a W.E.B. Du Bois that had the concept of talented tenth. I want to say it's Booker T.
The boys, it was the
Um,
boys, the
it was
boys.
the boys. It was the boys. All right, the
Yeah.
talented tenth. So every group of people, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, every group of people, you tend to have people that are just more successful, they're more adapt, they rise to the top, they're very good. Every other race of people, they're talented people, goes and supports the other 90% in some way, shape, or
Yep.
form. They try to elevate. And our community is like one of the few where once we try to separate our talented people try to separate. People try to get out of the hood, and there's no, I understand. I understand, growing up and, you don't want to be in certain areas. But there's a lot of black neighborhoods that you're not going to get shot just because you drive a nice car. You can still be with your people, first and foremost. And if
Yep.
you aren't with your people physically, which you still can and should be, you don't necessarily have to leave the community economically or mentally, romantically. You can still be involved with black people. You can still, man,
Message.
yeah, yeah. Put that one in there and let them.
The darker the berry, baby. The
They
darker
gonna,
the
they
berry,
gonna, they gonna
baby.
wind that one back. But you can still be successful. Like that's one of the things is people focus like I'm not black, I'm OJ. That right there sums it up. I'm so successful. I'm so great at what I do. I make so much money. I'm not black no more. I don't have to deal with the problems other black people have. And in some ways, it's true. You make enough money, you can live in a certain neighborhood. You can essentially buy proximity to whiteness. You can buy a nicer car. You can buy a nicer house. You can buy a nicer wife. You can buy pretty much everything and essentially try to separate yourself, but your black ass is still black, and they're gonna remind you in certain situations.
And proximity to whiteness is the perfect phrase because it literally says it in itself. proximity to whiteness. You will never actually be
Yeah.
white or one of them or considered one of them or accepted by one of them. You're just close enough to make it look like, but you are still an addendum. You are still adjacent. You're an asterisk. You can be cut, you can be cropped out of the photo at any moment in time. You are proximity to whiteness. You will never be one of them.
Yeah, and this is a white supremacist society. So as much as you try to climb the corporate ladder or you try to, make a whole bunch of money and start these businesses, which you should do all of those things. My brother, do what you want to do. You only got one life to live. Accomplish your goals and live out your dreams. I ain't holding nobody back from doing that.
But
But
don't forget who you are.
yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it is. Don't forget because as soon as you forget, they're gonna remind you. Like you got an obligation to your people. I don't care who you are. You black, you got an obligation to your people. And
Mhm.
we all gotta live like that. We went from the most accomplished and, successful and the most powerful people in our community fighting for our community to now everybody's just fighting to secure the bag. And that's the issue. You can't just secure the bag. You gotta secure the community too. Like, yes, get your money. Do what you got to do. Be great. Be excellent. Your artist be excellent. Your athlete be excellent. But don't forget home. Like, don't forget home. That's it. It's really that simple. And it might be a slightly longer road. There'll be certain things that they try to take away from you. But if we think about the long term, we're the most powerful people on the planet. We're the most creative. We invent a lot of things, every single genre of music. We overrepresented, greatly overrepresented in sports, a lot of influence and even like with social media, a lot of the biggest influencers because we're just naturally funny. We're naturally
America has culture because we are here,
yes.
literally. We're the Lowrys that with in America's pot. Without we're not pot, we're African. We're the Maggie Cube in America's pot. So that's
Right.
and that what you saying, man, reminds me of this clip I saw. This girl on this black woman on TikTok or whatever, dark skinned black chick. I think she even had locks or something like that. But she was talking about there was a few posts of her. She was just wholeheartedly giving her whole soul to MAGA, and just championing the cause of MAGA, all this other stuff. Then I guess her brother or somebody was arrested, and the judge was coming down on him super hard for the sentence or whatever. So in her MAGA hat, she went on her MAGA profile and she was asking her MAGA people for help and support, and them ninjas didn't come. So there was another post that she made that she took off all her MAGA stuff, and all of a sudden she was trying to talk to her people and and trying to get her people's support. And people were like, "Nah, what happened to the folks that you was with? Go be with them and ask them for the help that you forgot about us." Like stuff like that is so important because at the end of the day, proximity to whiteness ain't whiteness. You got to remember who you are because you will always need your people, regardless of what happens come hell or high water. You will need your people.
Yeah, that's a good point. People can't forget that. I mean, personally, I don't care either way whether she's MAGA or liberal. To me, it's all
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Either way,
all
yeah.
devils. They're all devils, man. Uh, so that's why I don't be infuriated by Trump, but he's doing exactly what I expect him to do. I think that my biggest issue is the Democrats because we think that they're allies, and that's the biggest issue. It's better to have an enemy you know than to have an enemy you think is a friend.
But
And
the thing is, I'll say this because we getting off topic now. It's time to go. But if you actually pay attention to what Democrats are doing, they're not really. If you actually pay attention, they're letting you know they're not really allies. They talk a good game, but they just talk, and that's it. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that alone.
yeah.
Um,
All right, but yeah, we done got went off on a tangent, but yeah, Ibrahim Traore, man, Traore, we gotta support, we gotta stand, we gotta uplift leaders like him, and we gotta adopt the mindset of anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism, and independence and African sovereignty.
And if you are somebody who has some of the same thoughts, you're a leader or would be leader or whatever, you have some of the same thoughts as him, look at him as an example of, yes, what you're thinking about can come to pass. Join the fight, step up, do what you got to do. If you needed a reason to go ahead and pull the trigger or whatever, if you're looking for a sign, this is it, my ninja. Do it. This
Let's
is the
do it.
time. All right, y'all. That's another episode of Afronomics. Uh the emergency we had to do this and get this out fast because the people need to hear it episode. We're gonna Millie rock off the set and call it a day. Peace.
All right.